Alright, let's continue this. So back to our loader, and I was going to load in a cell into a palette of useful cells that I work with. So let me open this grid, and for me I just store it in this particular location. And you can set up shortcuts for this, of course, but I have a grid called useful cells, and that's just a collection of cells that I happen to find useful. So I'm going to click on a cell there, and I'm going to say load a cell into that, and I'm going to select my shift register library, so shift.lib, and I'm going to select my demo SR cell. And so here's my cell, and I can control S to save that, and now it's a part of my palette. Unfortunately it's just a dot, so I can copy it and I can paste it elsewhere, but it's not going to be terribly useful to see what it looks like. So I did the copy with a control C and the paste with a control V, by the way. And I can undo with a control U, so I can just get rid of the paste that I did over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an icon to this. So I'm going to edit the cell with control E, and under file I'm going to say icon editor. And here's the icon editor. This is very crude, but it will work sufficiently to let us do some basic labeling of our cells. So this shift register in particular comes in from the west, goes out to the east, the clock goes in on the east. So I'm just going to put some labels here. I'm going to label this input here on the left with an I, so I'm just going to click on 2 pixels and hit an L to draw a line between them. Click on a middle pixel, click on another, draw a line, click over here and here. There's my I. I don't really need these extra ones, so I can pick up a color by just clicking anywhere outside of the drawing area, and then when I click inside, it takes on that color. So there's my input. I'm going to click on blue and label an output. So click the pixel, click another one, hit an L, come over here, do the same thing. There's my output, and oh, I did that in the wrong spot, so I'll change that O to a C by drawing a white line. There's my clock, and my output's going to be up here. So I'll label that accordingly. Alright, and that's good enough just to give me a basic idea what this is supposed to be. So I'm going to go under here under File, I'm going to say Copy Icon from Editor, and I'm going to save this. Now as soon as I save this, anywhere that I've drawn this will automatically be updated. So if I had taken the cell and pasted it a bunch of times over here, and now I'm editing my icon, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to save this cell definition with a Control S or a File Save Cell, and all the instances of that, their icons are automatically updated. So that's useful. So I'm going to clear this out. Now I want to test this to see if it's actually working as a shift register. So I'm going to take this cell, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it in a series of cells over here. Now with this shift register, I need to recirculate the bits coming in to the top and coming into the bottom. So I'm just going to pick up this little cell over here. I'm going to copy it with a Control C, paste it with a Control V, and then rotate it twice with a Control R. And I'm going to do Control C again to copy it, select a region of cells, and do a Control V to paste. And now I've got copies of my cells throughout here. I can grab this whole region, copy with a Control C, come here with a Control V, and then do 2 Control Rs. Let's undo that. Select this whole region, do 2 Control Rs, and that will rotate those cells in. Now I also want to see the bits coming out of the bottom, so I'm going to take one of these cells and I'm going to do a Control R to rotate it, Control C to copy, and then I'm going to paste a bunch of these down here as with a Control V. And I also want to read the value that's coming out of here, so I actually want the output of the southern part of this cell to come from the northern input. So I'm going to take this line, do a Control C, select these cells, and now I'm going to do a Control Z, which is a special kind of paste. It's called an OR paste. And when I do an OR paste, it merges the truth tables along with this cell. If I later want to go back and see what this cell is composed of, I can say edit explode composite cell, and it will open a new grid with the 2 pieces of that cell in place. So I can take them apart, put them back together, change them, explore them, and so on. So here's my grid file, and the last thing I need to do is feed a clock into this, because I need to send a clock into the eastern input of this cell. So again, I'm just going to grab a useful cell down here, rotate it, copy, paste, take this cell, copy it, paste it. Now I should be able to hit a clock from here, feed an input to the left, and it should shift across here. I'm going to do a save, and it's going to ask me for a name, so I'm just going to go into this work area that I've created, and I'm going to call this SR Demo. I'm just going to call it SR.grid. The extension is meaningless, it's just a standard that I use. SR.grid means a grid file. I'm also going to write a binary grid, and I'm going to go back to desktop work, and I'm just going to call this sr.bin. So now I have a file that hopefully can be ingested from the simulator. I'm going to open a new window over here. I'm going to say Java Sim. And here's my window. Let's make these blocks bigger for the video, so I'll go into mode 6, 150. Oh, that's a little too big. Mode 6, 100. And now we can see a series of cells, so that's plenty of height. Here's our width, and we want to come in on cell 06. So I'm going to say load 00 sr.bin, and there's our circuit loaded, and now when I click this input, it should feed the clock to all of these cells, and I should be able to shift a value over. So I can set my input over here to be a 1, and when I start clicking, I notice that nothing's happening. It's not shifting correctly. Apparently there's a problem. So I can click on this cell, and I notice that I only have 3 truth table equations defined, and my original goal was to define 4. Well, I can go back here and I can look, and I can see that my first equation here I accidentally defined data west instead of data north. So at this point things are pretty quick. I change that, I do a Control S, and then I come back to my circuit over here and I just say write binary grid. I can take the default, save it, say replace it. I can come back here and say load 00 sr.bin and come back into my circuit. And now when I toggle the clock, my 1 that I had over here gets shifted into this stage. When I toggle it again, it gets shifted over, so I have 2 1s. I can load a 0 in now and shift that. So there's a 0 and 2 1s, there's 2 0 and 2 1s, 3 zeros and 2 1s, and now I can start loading in 1s, and there's my 1 0 0 0 1 1, and if I just keep clocking this, it'll fill up with 1s. So the shift register stage is working fine. And it's a little time consuming potentially to make your first cells. For example, to create this cell I had to write all this definition, I had to do the icon editor. Then once it's done, it's pretty quick to put that into a circuit. And once that's done, if I needed to make a correction, such as changing this one part of the equations, that's very fast to do. And everything gets updated automatically. Everything is sort of always live, so those corrections happen quickly. So we have a basic shift register circuit. Let's go ahead and use this to build a Fibonacci sequence generator.